Hello. Today we have a very exciting guest. She's energetic, she's passionate, she does a lot. She is smart with warmth. Her name is Pooja Sund. Let me tell you about Pooja Sund. First of all, she's an engineering finance leader. So both engineering finance leader as a woman, working at Microsoft as a principal, PM, and director. She's also LinkedIn top voice, which we're going to talk about in a moment, as well as a gold medalist and CFO award winner. First of all, welcome to the podcast. Really excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Ivna, and thank you for what you do for the community. Really excited and looking forward to this wonderful session today.
Absolutely, because we're talking about how to be boldly and bravely yourself, which she absolutely does. She has a really powerful voice and presence, which is what we're all about. You're doing all these other things. You've been named Hall of Fame Global Woman in Tech 2023, highest leadership award through Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie is so well known in leadership trainings. A board member of the Pacific Northwest University. You've delivered 250 talks, which is impressive. If you're scared of delivering one talk, think about 250, plus numerous contributions in different papers and in news outlets. You're a mentor at different organizations. You do so many volunteering things and fundraising and coordination of culture events. And you're a woman champion, a diversity champion, and a STEM champion. I'm also a champion for those three things. So we have that in common.
Awesome.
Let's talk about your LinkedIn top voice. That's recent, isn't it? How did that come about?
It just came out as a surprise, to be very open with you, Ivna. It came out as a gift in the first week of January. I got an email from LinkedIn saying, Pooja, we have been looking at the content that you have been generating. It has already gathered so many audience interactions, and you are being called as top contributor in multiple areas. So over the years, we have been looking at it, and we have now picked you as a LinkedIn top voice. I was like, wow, that was a far-fetched dream. So consistency is the key. I have been creating content on LinkedIn for over 7 years. And what I have focused on is, right when I was starting, I had this goal in mind that I would like to learn from the best, the influencers that are already on the LinkedIn platform. And I want to be known for my brand. So I did not just go in and start creating content on all the topics. At the get-go, I was clear that I know a lot about leadership. I have deep passion about my areas of data analytics, data science, and women in tech. So I'm going to make sure that 90% of my content would speak to these topics, and 10% could be tied to news or other topics. So knowing that, purposely, intentionally, I have built this success framework that I have applied, and I'm very thankful to LinkedIn. Just yesterday, actually, we were in the introductory welcome call where they invited 0.5% of 1 billion population. So 300 of us from North America have been selected as top voice. And we are now in a specific group on LinkedIn, which is called as North America Voice Group. And I'm really excited because looking forward to contribute more to the community and get an opportunity to really show women and men that if we have the value, we can deliver it. Nobody's going to give you the platform. You have to earn it, and you have to really pave it forward.
Oh, that's incredible. 300 people only in North America and
Yes,
the
300
US.
out of 300 out of 1 billion.
That is incredible. From the beginning, you did it knowing that you wanted to use it as a platform to build your brand. And so
Yes.
you focused, honed in on that one theme. And you've been doing this for how long?
Over 7 years.
7 years. Right. So it takes some time, but you put your mind into it. Was it ever something that concerned you at the beginning? Was it ever difficult, or did you ever hesitate?
So right from the get-go, I was like, I'm not going to be superficial. I'm going to be authentic to myself first, because if you're authentic, then authenticity is the golden rule and it would speak up for itself. So I actually focused on what I know about or what I'm struggling at, what have been my failures, how did I convert them into success stories. So I try to make sure that in the moment, I am wearing that be bold, be brave, be you. So what? Even if my LinkedIn post is going to have some grammatical errors. So what if it's not going to resonate with 100% of the audience? So what if my message is definitely not in alignment with what others think in the field? I am sharing my unique perspective, and I got to take care of my unique perspective myself. So I consider myself as a CEO of my own career. I'm sitting in my Tesla front seat, and I'll take it where I want to take it. I am not going to let others dictate, oh, go there. So I thought about, okay, if this is a platform, this is the real estate that I'm getting, how can I start building the portfolio that would speak about me? And I can take pride in when I'll reflect on that journey.
That's very interesting. You're posting about yourself and your experiences. Is that right?
Yes, so 10% really personal, my experiences, my sort of perception about things and what I think about it, and 90% about what's happening in the industry around these topics, around these brand sort of identities that I would like to have for myself, and what do I think about it or what I have learned. So very quick tip, Ivna, that I would like to share it with our community is when you know something and when you have learned something in that week, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know about this before, or that was insightful, or why did that person come to me with that topic? Maybe this is the same topic that others would like to hear from me. You just create a post. And that's the easiest way for you to think about it. So you do not have to then spend time over the weekend creating content and schedule it, because you are actually learning as you go and you're sharing that with the community.
That's a great tip. And it also helps us sediment that learning at the same time. So it has that double benefit. And another thing that you've been doing is all this impressive public speaking.
Yeah.
So how did you get started in that? Was that also 7 years ago? And did you also do that to build your personal brand? It seems like it was all very intentional.
Yes, so even this actually goes back to my childhood passion. Even when I was in fifth grade, I was always a vocal person and I wanted to be a speaker. When I grew up, I used to dream about getting onto the stage, like big stage where audience are gonna be there, and then I'm just talking about it. I didn't know at that time which field I'm gonna go into, but I already knew at the childhood age was I had so much energy and passion in me that I wanted to share with the world. I did not know at that time how would I do it, because I thought that if I did not share that gift with others and inspire others, then it would go to waste. So I need to find out platforms. And my mom encouraged me to start talking about topics in the school. And right from there, I went to my college degree. So I became the vice president of affairs and career and development pillar. So there I used to go for speaking competitions. I remember at the age of 15, I went to interstate speaking competitions. I won fourth prize. So in India, if you're not in top three, nobody considers. And that was actually a setback for someone like me who was really getting, let's say, the first prize at all state, at all district level competitions. And I was like, why? That means I'm not good enough. But then I changed my thinking, and with the help of mentors, they taught me that you actually surround yourself with people smarter than you, and you actually learn from them what are the techniques that they are applying to be an improved version of yourself. So my speaking passion goes back to years and years ago. And since then, I have never been hesitant to go and present areas of the topics that are in my areas of expertise. And I actually tell conference organizers who approach me over LinkedIn or through personal connections, whenever they ask me, which topic are you comfortable with? I was like, these are the topics of my expertise area, but you tell me, who are your audience? What do you want me to focus on? And I can just come and prepare myself. Why? Because I believe I have honed the skills of presentation. I know how to land it. I know how to do research to make sure the content would resonate with the audience and they can take some key takeaways, not just fluffy ones, but something that they can start applying it right on the get-go. And that actually gives me a pleasure to learn something new about other areas too, if I'm given that opportunity.
You have this intrinsic motivation to share that gift and all this energy and passion that you have. How does it feel for you personally when you are delivering these talks and afterwards? It seems like for you, it's a really positive experience.
Great. Thank you so much, Ivna, for a great question. I often get asked this question. How do I kick my imposter syndrome out? I think that I'm not good enough. I think people are going to judge me, and I might get nervous on the stage, or I might forget what I'm going to speak about. What do I do? So for me, the advice that have worked well even for me, and I actually tell myself often, is you don't have to think about you are presenting to 5 people, 10 people, 1,000, 100,000, 200,000. What you need to focus on is, what is your topic? Who is that one person in the audience and what is their profile? If they all are CFOs, CEOs, you just need to know their profile. And you need to think in your mind, you are talking to that person, that profile. So it doesn't matter if there are multiple domains, you're just keeping one person from one domain in mind. So you can think about preparing yourself. And second thing, I use the sports analogy, which is before even going into the game and getting the MVP title, you actually start preparing your mind that you're already there. You're already there, and people are then getting back to you by saying, oh, we loved what you mentioned over there, or your topic was very energizing. So you start with an end goal in mind, and you then prepare yourselves to get there. And third thing is, I often tell myself, even if I would fail, even if I would not be my best in that presentation, I would actually learn. And that could be a pivotal moment for me and others who are witnessing me, because nobody is perfect and things will happen. Maybe presentation would not work, or maybe I'll come late to a session because of logistics or transportation delays. Whatever it is, we are going to make sure that time would count, and we are going to treat every opportunity as a learning opportunity, because in the long run, when you reflect back, you're not going to look at how many opportunities were you successful at. You're going to think about, what did you not explore, or you could have tried. So might as well just give it a try. Just have fun, and it is okay. Even if you fail, you would learn something.
That's such an empowering mindset to have. So thinking about that learning, because that first time you presented certainly was not as good as your current presentations. So there was process of growth there, and it only happened because you put yourself out there and had the experience over and over again. And as you do it, you just get better, like everybody will with those reps. Plus, I love the tip of focusing on one person, one profile, and not imagining the large audience that can be intimidating, and projecting that talk ahead of time in our mind so that we work towards what that's going to look like. Great tips.
One additional thing that I would like to add is, there is a psychologist, Amy Cuddy, and she has written a book as well. She has a famous TED Talk, Power Pose. So you take your hand, put it on your waist, and then you open your legs and you say that, you know what, I got this. Yes. And before going into any meeting that needs to have a discussion at the end, before going into any presentation, my tip to viewers would be, go into the restroom before going in, or go into another room before going onto the main stage. Just take that power pose and say, I got this. So what? I'll just go and learn. And you would see that confidence would come into you.
For those of you just listening, you have to see Pooja's confidence face right now. It really came through. I love the power pose.
Thank
And
you.
but back to the imposter syndrome and self-doubt topic. You've changed professions. You've changed what you were working on in your career several times.
Yes.
That's hard, because that means self-doubt and imposter syndrome are way more likely to show up because you're working with people who have been doing that for a long time. So how did you manage those situations when you were shifting your career so often?
Another excellent question, Ivna. Career pivoting. Why is it so important, and how did I do it? So I focused on transferable skills. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I was not scared when I made the transition after spending 12 years of my professional career in the finance domain, getting up from senior financial analyst, moving to the rank of director of data analytics, to coming to this engineering org. It was not a quick decision. My family, especially, I got this feedback both from my daughter, who was 10 years old at that time, and from my husband. You're already super successful here. Why do you want to leave finance at the peak of your career and go into engineering and surround yourself with people who are going to be maybe way smarter than you? What is in it for you? I knew at that time, because I learned from a Grace Hopper conference, which is a conference of 30,000 women. It happens every year. There was a speaker session that really resonated with me, and that lady said on the stage, You actually have to make a transition when you are at the top in your career, not when you are struggling in your current role. And it really stood out for me because I was like, you know what, I might have already explored all the avenues of me into that particular domain. And I was leading technical teams sitting on the finance side. I said, if I will go into the technical side and start partnering with my finance business partners, it's two sides of the coin, but think about the experience that I'll get. I might be an anomaly there because there are not many people coming from finance into engineering and then supporting finance, but maybe I would be that value addition to the team. And that's what I kept in mind. I focused on my transferable skills, including communication, partnership, conflict management, negotiation, influence. And then I came in here and I'm learning day to day. And even now, there are days when I think to myself, oh my God, I wish I knew about how to build this model at that granular level detail. And I like how my three partners, software engineering partners, are building. But then I think to myself again, take a step back and condition yourself. Do you want to be in that position? No. Do you want to learn about what it takes to build it so you can add it to your leadership potential? Yes. So then I ask questions to out of curiosity to gain knowledge. So in the crux, I would like to say for people who would like to make career transition or would make career pivoting successful, focus on transferable skills and position yourself in the interview and in the role by saying that I am excellent at what I do, and these are the top three skills that I bring to the table. These are the top three skills that I'm planning to learn while being on the role, and you will be successful. It would take you no time in getting where you are in the new domain compared to the number of years that you ended up spending in another domain. Because at the end of the day, think of it as like you are getting finished with every single day and every single role. So you are unpeeling the onion, and the finer version of you is coming closer to its goal.
In your case, for example, the qualities that you have in combination become a lot more rare to find. Having someone who has good knowledge of finance, plus tech engineering, plus the soft skill part, the communication, influence, conflict resolution, the leadership skills, that's very hard to find these days. So you really distinguish yourself from everybody else in that field when you promote the three skills that you want to learn and the three skills that you're really good at, and you're able to communicate that. It conveys confidence for
That
those
is so true.
recruiting.
So true. And you would not believe what you are going to learn by putting yourself into another domain. Yes, maybe a year or two would be challenging, stressful, but equally exciting and impact, because actually challenge prepares you for another growth, and you don't realize it because you are in your comfort zone in your domain. And I'm not saying for everyone who is listening to this show that go into another domain. What I'm saying is, if you have a desire to get to a particular leadership level, then you need to think about yourself. Would you like to have breadth or depth? And based on that, make a call and drive your career accordingly. Reach out to mentors and sponsors. Ask them, this is what you are thinking. Would it help? And based on that, you can actually tailor it. Just a story to share, Ivna, with you. The manager whom I reported to 5 years ago, I'm still in touch with that manager. And just 2 months ago, when we were having conversation, we often talk on quarterly or monthly basis, depending on the schedule. And 2 months ago, when I was talking to this previous manager, he actually came to me and he was asking, how did I make the transition? Because he wanted to make that transition. And he did it. And it was not an easy cup of tea. But I told him is, you are not jumping off the cliff. You are actually at the top of a mountain, meaning one domain, and you are going on to another mountain. So think about that. Don't think that you're jumping off the cliff, because that just scares you. When you think about, okay, I'm here, I'm going to go there, and I'll be here. And he made that jump pretty comfortable, pretty happy, looked at the future, how this career goal in another domain is going to fit into what his expertise is, and it's working out. So you can actually be that person who was being mentored by others to actually give advice and bring them along in your career journey and help them be successful as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You inspired your manager. Another thing is that the shift or the change, the pivot in the career can be the domain that you were talking about, the industry, and it can be the geography.
Right.
And so it's a lot more manageable. We do one at a time. It's a lot more
Excellent point.
manageable.
Yes, yes. So you pick your battle. Don't do 3 transitions at one time.
Exactly. Now, you talked about one of your strengths being managing conflict, handling conflict. I'd love to know a time when you had to handle conflict that came up for you. And
I'll say it happens all the time, especially when you are in a leadership role. You would see that people on the partnership side would have couple of priorities to go with, and sometimes even though you are driving the same priorities, there would be conflicts. Either the teams are not able to deliver at the right time, or there are other constraints that have come in, which is change in priority right when you are in the middle of execution of the project. So I remember a situation very clearly where my manager was getting escalation emails from all different teams saying why nobody is taking the ownership of the Uber project, because there were components sitting in different teams reporting to different managers, and we had individual product managers and leaders reporting to that V team. And he came to me and he goes, Pooja, I would need your help to drive this because it looks like nobody is listening to anyone and this project is not going any further. And it's a cross-org, cross-company project. I was like, okay, let me see what I can do. And that was exactly 5 months after I made this transition from finance to engineering. So not knowing everything about it, I actually played to my super strengths, which is bringing everyone together, actively listening, and finding the common ground, finding win situation for everyone. And another thing that I bring to the table is just reflection, that when you start a meeting, you're not going to start by putting a blame on someone. You are actually going to bring everyone together to say, these are the principles that we are going to follow in this meeting, which is respect, integrity, accountability. We're going to focus on leadership principles, creating clarity, generating energy, delivering success. When I'm going to ask question, I do not want your answer to be XYZ person did not give you what you were looking for. What I'm asking is, give me facts, give me the timeline, and tell me the challenges that you have faced. And then what I realized is just bringing this slide and effectively carrying out the meeting, all the conflicts that these different teams had in terms of their project taking precedence over others, this person is not performing, or the other person is always late to the meetings, we were able to come together and come up with a clear set of action plans. My manager got so many emails right after the meeting ended saying how wonderfully Pooja executed it. And I thought to myself, did I contribute anything from technical perspective? No. What I did is I actually played to my strengths. And I reached out to a CVP, corporate vice president, who happened to be my sponsor. She has left the company now. But I actually asked her before going into this meeting to just get more viewpoint in terms of how should I think about it and what is a diverse perspective that she can help me understand. Maybe I am thinking just very focused and meeting would not land that way. So she gave me this example and she followed the same approach. So I'm a kind of person who would like to offer help and give help. So I actually listened and learned from her experience and then went in with this focus. I had a backup plan in mind as well. If something would not go well, rather than letting the meeting continue for 1 hour, I'll just cut it short and I'll say we'll come back with the agenda and updated agenda, because it doesn't make sense when people are getting into the heated situation. You have to first ask them what is the problem, ask them open-ended question. Why do you think we need to take this step? Can you help me understand what is the essence and what is the impact we are trying to create? Because oftentimes people will bring emotions to meetings and they have people problems. This person doesn't want to work with this person. This person doesn't put that person in high regard. So people problems often lead to project problems. And I actually done it the other way. I actually used people interactions to lead that project to be successful. So my advice to listeners, Ivna, would be find a common ground, start the meeting by setting some ground rules, guiding principles. Whenever you see people talking over each other, interrupting, not giving answer to the questions that are being asked, politely you go into this at that moment and say, that person is asking you this question. Can you please respond? And you would be able to get to what your goals are.
There's so many things in that example, Pooja. So the ground rules are excellent. Finding a common ground. You also spoke to your sponsor to get the second opinion on how to handle the situation because it was a challenging situation because nobody wanted to deal with it and you were new to the role. You played to your strengths. You had a plan B if things didn't work out, would be to cut the meeting short and come back and try again. I love the tactic of having those ground rules in a one pager
Yeah.
and talking it through with people and setting the expectations about how to communicate and engage in that conversation. You didn't even have to bring any expertise, technical expertise to the table. But what you did was facilitate the conversation very well.
Yes, because all of the other individual owners were experts in their domains. How do you understand other person coming out from other domain and having that expertise and give that person the same platform to work on?
Yeah, that is fantastic. Another example of being bold and brave is challenging other people.
Yes.
When we have to challenge someone, and often someone who has power, who has the power to hurt us. Everybody is scared of retaliation and backlash sometimes, and they avoid speaking up. So I'd love to hear an example of when you challenged someone and you spoke up in that way, knowing that there was potential risk for you, for your career.
Another excellent question. I truly believe in speak up culture. Just 2 days ago, we actually delivered a session on speak up culture to our CVP and his extended leadership team. And they were saying, why do you want to just limit it to women community and share it with the male allies? How about we actually share this session with the broader org? So we are going to do that session in 2 weeks, which is the focus is not going to be just on women not being able to speak up, but everybody. So the experience or the story that I would like to share here is actually one of the women who was reporting to me. And in one of the meeting, when she went in, the other person who was a senior leader, I was not there in that meeting, but when that one of my direct report, when she went in and presented an idea and she had an expertise in that idea, she was just cut off. She was disregarded and they didn't listen to her. The project could have resulted into huge savings, but the leadership right there was not ready to listen. They disregarded her. At the same time, they made a comment, we are not able to understand you well because of your verbal skills. And it really hurt her. She came to me after the meeting and she was crying. And it happened 8 years ago. And I was like, why didn't you speak up for yourself in that moment? And she was like, I didn't know what to say. I said, okay, do you want me to take care of the situation or would you like to take care of the situation yourself? I can guide you. I can coach you. What are the things that you're going to do differently? Or do you want me to? And she goes, would you mind if I'll ask you to do it? I said, wholeheartedly, yes. I went in, had a discussion with that skip leader, and I made him understand the choice of words. How did it land? And the value of what she was bringing to the table. She might not use the perfect words that she needed to convey what it means, but anybody can understand by applying that approach, it would have worked. So I knew in the back of my mind, this conversation, if I'll bring it up, would actually go back to my skip. Because oftentimes we have this fear of retaliation. But then I thought to myself, if I would let this go, it can happen to me. It can happen to many others. And if I have found out something, I need to take care of that behavior. I need to at least do my part. So women are very apologetic about their ideas. They do not get sponsors. They at times think that they are not enough. They feel like they would not get the promotion if they'll say no to their manager or to their skip. And oftentimes even men would feel like this person already is so much more brighter and have more expertise in this topic. What is my idea going to do? And I might need to just take a step back. So how about we each one of us is a leader in the conversation. How about we take this privilege, responsibility on us to create an environment where everybody can feel and say what they are feeling. They don't need to say things that they don't want to. So say what you are thinking over here, and you can position it this way. By the way, I have a slightly different perspective, and here it is. I would like to hear how does it confirm or not conform to the guidelines that we have in this meeting. And our ideas, my ideas, does get outlisted many times. It's okay, because at least you didn't keep it to yourself. You wanted to know. Otherwise, if they end up making a decision about something and you would realize, I wish they would have listened to my idea, this would not have happened. At least you have given that input. So you're course correcting right then and there. And this story also is a great example of how you can speak not only for yourself, but for others. And now I see this individual, another refinement. It's like 2.0. I often tell this direct report of mine, you are 2.0 version of what you were, who you were 2 3 years ago. Like the confidence, that energy that she brings now to the table is really mind-boggling.
It was great to see that moment plus others had such a transformative impact. And for you, there was an element of courage. It seems like you had these high values in knowing that you believed in the culture of open communication, the speak up culture, and you knew how important that was for everyone, for women, for yourself. Did that ever get to your skip level?
It did, but in a positive way. I am a firm believer in showing your worth. And I have also read many Dale Carnegie books on how to win friends and influence people. So I actually use this as an opportunity to land my message in that way that it would look like to that skip that I'm trying to help him out. By the way, do you want to know how we, as the people in your org, listen to what you have to say or interpret it differently? Would you like me to help you out by giving an example of how a conversation that you think is going to be landing as effective could land into an unproductive discussion? So you position it in a way that they'll think that you are actually helping them, and you are actually helping them because you are bringing that perspective to them that is not known to them, and it's in their blind sight.
Yeah, it's all about framing that
Yes.
conversation in a positive way, in a helpful way, so that just like the guideline you shared in that meeting where people were attacking each other and
Yes.
complaining about each other and blaming each other, you set the ground rules and you set the expectations and you set the intention up front. Here you did the same thing, but in a one-on-one conversation, conflict situation.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
How can leaders encourage their teams, and how have you encouraged your team members to speak up, to express concerns, to share their authentic feedback, to share their ideas openly, even if they're half-baked, to really own their voice and be bold and brave in the workplace?
Love it. You have to be a model yourself in order for you to create that environment. If you would like to come across always as polished, refined, perfect leader, then people are going to be hesitant. Ability, Bunny Brown, huge fan of her. And she talks about how leaders can be vulnerable and share stories, demonstrate those situations where they were not at their best. And then they create this environment where everybody would feel, you know what, it is okay, we can be like that as well. So what? Again, going back to so what? So I actually have purposely shared stories and went into discussions where I did not know what the end goal is going to be. And I actually positioned those positions as brainstorming. Okay, we are going to get into this new project. We do not know much about it yet. Let's get into the brainstorming mode. No idea is going to be perfect. We are just going to explore, pick on each other's idea, and then take it, which one are going to be fruitful for us to take it forward. And 2 days ago, actually, I was having another discussion with one of my direct report, and we were talking about how this big new opportunity has come to us and how we are going to lead it. And we were just thinking, oh my God, it's going to be a big addition to our existing responsibilities. How are we going to handle it? So my advice to this direct report of mine was, you know what? We will partner together. On days when I'm going to be stressed out, I'll talk to you. When you're going to be stressed out, you can talk to me. We are going to be each other playing the partner and accountability partner role. If you have to take care of your kid who is almost a year old, then you take those days off. When I have to take care of my high schooler, I'll take those days off. So we'll cover for each other. Just knowing and setting those expectations right at the beginning, it's not going to be easy. But knowing you are there for each other would help. So modeling the right behavior is number one. Vulnerability is another key. And third is coaching them and asking those questions. Is there any personal story that they would like to share with me? And I always try to start my meeting 101 by asking, how is everything going on at home? How are you doing mentally and personally? How is the work stressing you out? You start with that very open and candid conversation, and then you get into the projects, and it helps. And I do the same with my manager.
Have you had through these practices, or I imagine that you get your team to be really comfortable speaking up with you, has any team member ever shared with you a concern they had about your leadership style or how you were doing things with the team, or had some suggestions, something that you were surprised by?
Luckily, no, but even if it would happen, I would learn from that experience, because rather than waiting for that thing to happen, I actually give an opportunity for me to self-correct right in the progress, right in the, let's say, the timeline. So in my quarterly connects and maybe, let's say, once a month, I actually purposely ask this question: the support that I'm providing you, is it working for you? What change would you like to see in my leadership style? What can I do more of? What can I do less of? And oftentimes, in less of, they'll say, oh, you are dealing with a lot. We would appreciate if you can even give us this portion as well. I'm like, yes, okay, great. This is actually great for me. I was trying to shield it, so I'll send it over to you. The best thing that I can give as an advice to the managers and leaders out there: don't micromanage your people. Don't micromanage them. They are professionals. They got it. You can set your cadence of doing the check-in, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, but do not ask them every single day about every single thing. Don't be like a nosy parent. Like your kids, your nephew, nieces are not going to like it. So how your team members are going to like it? So be a manager, be a leader that you always admired and you wanted to have for yourself. I actually have had a bad experience in my career early on. There was a manager who didn't give care about what my personal situation was. I was pregnant with my first kid and very young, at the age of, I think, 25. I remember at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., I was sitting in my closet and creating those presentations for my clients in Germany, and she didn't care, because for her, work needed to be get done. I had a choice. I could move into the another role, or I could just be in that role, go and take a maternity break, and then come back. So I thought to myself, rather than going into another role, I would stay in that role. So I cannot complain now that I didn't make that move. But what I learned from that experience is, as soon as I went on maternity break and came back, I didn't go to that team. I actually made a switch. The thing that has worked out in my favor was I actually learned from that experience, because I remember the days when I was going through that stress. Rather than enjoying my pregnancy, I was focusing on work. I was talking to my mom in India. I was here, and every now and then, whenever I was talking to her, she made me realize it's just a phase. Life is not going to be linear. Life is not going to be like this. Life in itself is going to have ups and downs. But what you can do is learn from those down moments and see what are the things that at least are in your control that you can improve upon. So at that time, very early in my career, I decided I am not going to be a manager like this. I'm not going to be a leader like this who doesn't even care about people. I actually care for my people, whether they are reporting to me or not, or even people who are approaching me on LinkedIn. And that's why my content is actually trying to give them the path, lighten it up for them, so they know that its life is going to be a mix of ups and downs. And now I'm very happy. I'm very proud of who I have become and how I'm empowering others, because I have had that experience and I don't want others to go through that experience. So my advice to them, even the aspiring managers, is think about who can be your ideal manager, who is your ideal leader. What are the qualities that you see in them that you wish you had? And then make it a goal to work on those qualities, because if you like it, that means you already have a degree of that in you already. When you appreciate something in someone, you have a connection with that person because you are possessing certain skills in you that other person have it as well, but they might have it at a different level. So what you can do is, rather than feeling jealous about influencers, about celebrities, about the team managers and leaders and other team members, you can start getting inspiration from them and start asking them questions. How did they get proficient in those skills, and then gain advantage over your portfolio? And that's the best way. Jealousy is not going to take us anywhere. What is going to take us to places is learning, appreciating, gratitude, and then paying it forward.
So that's a great tip, which is to look at those leaders that you admire and what you admire in them, and then reach out to them and really try to understand what it is that got them there so that you can find that or cultivate what is already within you and bring that about in your leadership. And when you have a bad experience like you did, it's a great moment to reflect and realize the identity that you want and don't want to be, the kind of leader that you don't want to be, and make sure that you make that decision right there. And that can be a really positive outcome, like for you, from that bad experience.
Yes. And one other thing, Ivna, that I would like to say is, another great author is Marshall Goldsmith. He talks about leadership all the time. One of his book is very famous: What Got You Here Won't Get You There. So I actually can recall just this week, today is Friday. So this week I was talking to another women leader, and I was just helping her understand it's not my area. I don't need to care for everyone on my extended team in the org, but that's who I am. I do care. And oftentimes it might lead into me spending more time, but it is okay because I love supporting and encouraging others. And I was just telling her, what got her here is not going to get her there. If she would like to get that promotion, the next level, which she deserves, and I want to support another women leader in the team, she would have to focus on how leaders think about a particular situation and what kind of leader she would like to be. Is she not passing the right feedback to the team? Is she really focusing on keeping her team there in a particular location? How can we inspire others to really think from other people angle and then adapt? I'm not saying you have to adapt all the time. You can make others adapt as well. But again, there is a common ground. You think about your audience, you think about what are your goals, and then you take the steps intentionally. You cannot think that if I have taken these steps, if I have played to these of my strengths, I could be a director, I could be a VP, I could be a CEO. No, you have to take on new skills. You have to find out different ways for your thing to land.
And I would suggest for everyone to consider being the kind of leader that amplifies their team's voices,
Yes.
that supports, like you said, a speak up culture within your team, that encourages everyone to communicate, share their ideas, share their thoughts, share their concerns, share their boundaries, share their wants, needs, and desires, and share all of their thoughts and everything that's really coming up, bubbling in their minds, even if it's not fully formed just yet.
Wonderful.
Pooja, do you have any last thoughts on how to bring about your brave and beautiful self to work?
Strongly say to yourself every single day, I got it. I'm going to be myself. I'm not going to dim my light. I will show my worth. And very genuinely, I'm going to work on my goals, which could be family, career, health, and community. Make community as your goal, make supporting them as your goal. And you would see that by having this mantra of being bold, being brave, and being you, we are going to take you because you are, and everybody else is taken. We would like Ivna to be on the board. We would like Kathy to be on the board. We would like Alex to be on the board. We don't want multiple Poojas to be on the board. That's not what we are here for.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much, Pooja, for sharing authentically your bold and brave stories with us today.
You're very welcome. You did it wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. And kudos to you for what you do for the community. And thank you to all the listeners who are going to listen to our engaging conversation. If they have any questions, they can reach out to you and me on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Very
How can they
happy.
reach out to you?
Yes, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn. So I will make sure I link Pooja's LinkedIn profile here in the description box below. All
Awesome.
right.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.